Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ice-Burgh To Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Penguins news and analysis. You can find us on YouTube at Inside the Penguins or anywhere you get your podcasts from. I've seen a lot of things on whether it be message boards, hockey boards, the comment section on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere about what the Pittsburgh Penguins need this center. And for the most part, everybody's getting it right. You need to figure out something with the defense. You need to have a plan with the goaltending. But there's one thread that is too common in my eyes and is something that I want to address here. People saying that the Penguins are in need of a second line center going into the 2024-25 season. I don't get it. I don't understand it. People have had negative opinions about Evgeni Malkin for a very, very long time in Pittsburgh. It is not a new phenomenon that people are down on Evgeni Malkin. They've been down on him even when he was an MVP in the National Hockey League. So he's taken a lot of criticism throughout his entire career. But specifically last season, he took some more. And it seems to be getting a little bit louder now that he's heading into the third of his 4-year deals, and they haven't made the playoffs in the first 2 years of them. There were times last year where I agree. It appeared that Evgeni Malkin was struggling. He didn't look like his old self. He looked like Father Time was starting to get to him, and he dealt with a couple of really bad and really long goal-scoring droughts. He had, in one instance, 0 goals in 8 games played. In another instance, he had 1 goal in 19 games played, and it's tough to have that, especially from a second-line center. Whenever Kyle Dubas's plan coming into this season was, you're going to rely on your first and second line for the majority of your offense. If your second line's not producing, well, we saw the results. They weren't playing in April. But even through what many consider to be a rough season, Evgeni Malkin's output was among the best at his position, and that's second-line center. And that's where everybody's saying the Penguins need a new second-line center. They have one of the best in the National Hockey League, even when he's not playing at the top of his game for an entire season. Evgeni Malkin finished the 2023-24 year with 27 goals and 67 points in 82 games played. And that last bit is not insignificant. It doesn't mean everything, but it's certainly not insignificant. What was the biggest bash on the Evgeni Malkin contract when he signed it? Is he going to be able to even play? When's the last time he played 70 games in a season? He can't stay healthy. Well, that's been silenced now because he's played 82 games in consecutive seasons on the first 2 years of that 4-year contract. But the first bit is even more impressive to me, that people are still bashing on Evgeni Malkin and saying not only that he had a down season, but he needs to be replaced. He needs to be moved to the wing. He needs to be bumped down to become a third-line center. That day might come, and that day might come sooner rather than later. But that day's not today, and it's not going to be at the start of next season, nor should it be going into next season. He finished with 27 goals. That was tied for 5th most among all second-line centers. 67 points was tied for 6th among second-line centers. So Evgeni Malkin, whether the process looked as pretty as it did in years past or not, Evgeni Malkin's production was among the best at his position this past season. And that is despite 2 major factors that I'll get into here, some of them in his control, some of it not in his control. The stuff that's in his control is the power play. And don't get me wrong, he had a major hand in the reason the Penguins' power play was not good last year. And not good is really being nice about it. Not only was it not good, it was inept. The 31st or 30th or whatever ranked power play it was bad, and he was a reason for why it was bad. And yet he still finished within the top 5 and top 6 of points and goals among second-line centers, despite having the 3rd lowest power play points in his entire career. 18 power play points this past season for Evgeni Malkin. He did that as well in 2012-13 when he only played 31 games. He did that in 2010-11 when he only had 14 points in 43 games on the power play. And then his worst season on the power play was in 2020-21 when he played 33 games and scored only 9 points on the power play. So this, with 82 games played, 18 points on the power play, it's not something that I would put my money on happening again. And that goes for the Penguins power play in general. They were horrendous this year. The one move they've made to this point, getting rid of Todd Reirden. It's something everybody wanted. It's something that's happened, and it's something the Penguins are going to try to fix, in part by getting rid of Reirden and replacing him with another assistant coach. But even if nothing else changes, even if they run the same system that everybody knows is probably not going to yield great success, there's no way that they end up being as bad as they were last season. It's, to me, impossible. Again, there's a chance that it happens. I guess that's not the word for impossible, shouldn't be the word that I used. There's a chance that it happens, but it's very, very, very unlikely. And yet, this past season, with that horrendous power play, Malkin finished among the top. And the other thing that I'll mention is a lack of consistent play from his wingers all season long. All season until, well, post-trade deadline. Riley Smith looked to be, one of the best wingers that he has played with in a long time in Evgeni Malkin. And then Riley Smith fell off a cliff after about 10 games into the season and never got back to that level. Rickard Rakell struggled all season long, on again, off again, with good production, with poor production. He'd go on scoring droughts, and then he'd kick it into high gear. But most of the time, when he was playing his best, was alongside Sidney Crosby. So Rickard Rakell, for the most part this season, wasn't a positive production winger for Evgeni Malkin. Drew O'Connor was fine. I find it hard to really bash Drew O'Connor's performance considering where he was at the beginning of the season and what he did throughout the season, but the majority of the time he was with Malkin, he was still trying to piece together how to be a top 6 winger at the National Hockey League, where he needs to be, the types of shot selections he needs to be taking, and, the times where he needs to hold on to the puck a little bit longer, to send it back the other direction. He was still learning how to be a top 6 winger. Doesn't mean he was a bad winger, but it just means he wasn't an elite top 6 winger this season. Valtteri Puustinen, he looked good, but he just couldn't finish. He hasn't been able to put it all together, and that's fine. He's a young player. But these are all reasons that Evgeni Malkin, sometimes the eye test didn't look good, and the numbers overall took a little bit of a decline this year. Partly, it's on him, but let's not act like it's all on him. And that's what I'm seeing out in the public, and I just don't see the reasoning for it. Now, once the trade deadline passed, and there was a new variable, a new line mate introduced to Evgeni Malkin's second line, it looked a lot better. When he actually had a bona fide top 6 winger, somebody to unlock what he does best, and that was Michael Bunting. When Michael Bunting got on Evgeni Malkin's line, it hit a level that it didn't the entire rest of the season. It helped Rickard Rakell revive his season a little bit. He looked as good as he has ever looked alongside Evgeni Malkin whenever Michael Bunting was on the other side of that line. So maybe that's something that's positive to look forward to into next season as well, is that a Malkin, Bunting, Rakell line could end up being very fruitful for the Penguins in 2024. And you look at what it did for Evgeni Malkin alone in 19 games played after the NHL's trade deadline, and the final 19 games played, I should say, 9 goals and 19 points. The second line center, Evgeni Malkin, is still one of the best in the league. The problem is, I don't think Penguins fans realize that they've been spoiled. That for the majority of Malkin and Sidney Crosby's careers, they have been 2 of the top 10 centers in the entire National Hockey League. You don't have to put a qualifier of first line, second line, third line. They were 2 of the best centers in the entire world. Crosby's still there. And no, Malkin's not. He's no longer one of the best top 10 centers in the National Hockey League in general. But that doesn't mean that we should judge him extra harshly because of that, because now all that we have to do is judge him amongst his peers, something we haven't done his entire career. And right now his peers are second-line centers, and he's still among the cream of the crop when it comes to that group. So going into next season, no. I don't believe they need a second-line center. I think they have a second-line center And he's been their second line center for the past 18 seasons, and he'll do it again in year 19. Do I expect that he's going to get back to what he was earlier in his career? No. But I do think you see his numbers increase. I do think you see a little bit more consistency, and I think you see better play on the power play from Evgeni Malkin and the Penguins in general. And that's why I have no issues and no concerns about Evgeni Malkin as the Penguins second line center heading into the 2024-25 season. I've seen that narrative out there. I think that's all it is a narrative. And I don't really give any credence to the fact that Evgeni Malkin should be replaced. I don't think that is anywhere near the truth, especially going into this season. But that's, again, just my opinion. That's going to do it for this episode of Ice-Burgh To Go. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this one. And remember, you can find us on YouTube at Inside the Penguins. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe over there. Or if you like the audio medium better, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast from. But that's it for this one. We'll see you guys next time.